Week 1 of the NFL season is here, man. We've been waiting nearly half the damn year for NFL football to be back, and it's finally here. I'm here with my Week 1 picks and predictions. We're starting off with the Lions going on the road to take on Kansas City. Kansas City potentially could be without two of their best players in Travis Kelce, who is currently dealing with a hyperextended knee that he suffered in practice a couple of days ago. And Chris Jones wants to get paid, and it doesn't seem like the Chiefs are close to coming to a new deal with him prior to this game kicking off. And the Lions got a really good offensive line. They improved that secondary. They had a secondary overhaul. They signed Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton in free agency. You got Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston being able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, potentially if your offensive tackles don't play good. I'm a little bit on the fence about Jawan Taylor. I felt like he was a little bit of an overpay. And then you picked up Donovan Smith, who can be serviceable at times, but we'll see. I do think that the Lions may have a little bit of an advantage in this game, maybe without Travis Kelce not playing and Chris Jones, but I still got to take Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. I'll never count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes when they're playing at home. Not saying that that means that they're guaranteed to win this game, but it's really hard to beat Kansas City on the road, especially when Patrick Mahomes is playing his best football. And there are Lions fans that keep saying, oh, who's Patrick Mahomes going to throw the football to, JT? They got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. As long as you have those two guys, I'm not worried about where the hell the offense is going to come from Kansas City. There were people who were doubting Kansas City last year, all because they traded Tyreek Hill away, and they went all the way and won the freaking Super Bowl. So why are we still trying to question the greatness of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? You guys should know by now the wide receivers and weapons around Mahomes don't all make Mahomes. Does he need that to be a good quarterback? Yes, he does, but he also has the ability to elevate the play of the guys around him. That's why he's regarded as the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not counting out Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I counted these fools out against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl for the same reason that people are trying to make an argument for the Lions to win this game. I'm not making that same mistake with the Kansas City Chiefs and their Week 1 opener against the Lions. Next up, we got the Browns hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. I like Cleveland, surprisingly, to win this game. The reason for this is because Cincinnati is a team that tends to start the season out a little bit slow. And then when we get around November, that's when they really start to get hot and they end the season out with a lot of momentum. Now, the Browns, they're a really intriguing team because they're either going to be a really good team or they could be a massive disappointment. They could win this division, make it to the Super Bowl potentially, or they could finish in last place in the North. It really is a big mystery when it comes to determining how good the Browns are going to be, but I do think they should be able to beat Cincinnati Week 1. Joe Burrow missed a good duration of training camp, so we don't know how he's going to look. He may come out a little bit slow, sloppy, may have a little bit of some time trying to take care of the football, so there may be a couple of mistakes that could win the game for the Cleveland Browns. Their defense should be improved this year. They got a new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. I like the Browns to win Week 1 at home against Cincy. The Titans, I like them to upset the New Orleans Saints. You guys know that I'm not high on New Orleans. I think they're the most overrated team going into this season. I think that they are this year's version of last year's Denver Broncos team. Yes, I do like Derek Carr, but Derek Carr isn't a good enough quarterback to overcome bad coaching. And Dennis Allen, if we're going off win-loss percentage, he has one of the worst records in the NFL. He's one of the worst coaches in the league. He doesn't have good clock management. He isn't good in late game situations, and he's too conservative at times. I like Tennessee to pull off the upset because they got the better head coach, and Tennessee is one of those teams that they're really scrappy. Last thing you want to do is get into a one-possession game with Tennessee with 2 minutes left, because under Mike Vrabel, this team really gets their best performance or gets the best out of them when they're in crucial moments. And I think a game like this favors the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, they may not be as talented as New Orleans, but the talent advantage doesn't really mean nothing because there's such a big advantage when it comes to the coaching side of this game that favors Tennessee compared to New Orleans. The 49ers take on Pittsburgh. This is one of the most talked about games going into week 1 of this year because you got San Fran and you wonder how Brock Purdy's going to look. All right, we know he looked incredible during his rookie season, but my bad, you guys, but you know Brock Purdy looked really good during his rookie season. But he's coming off that elbow injury. And he had elbow surgery on that thing. So we wonder if he's going to be able to pick up from where he left off last season. And Pittsburgh is one of those teams that they're really good at pulling off upsets in week 1. I remember a couple years ago, not last year, but I think the year prior when they played Buffalo week 1, and they ended up pulling off the upset. And I think they do the same thing against the San Francisco 49ers. Pittsburgh has a really good team. Kenny Pickett has looked really good in the preseason. George Pickens looks primed for a breakout year. They got a great defense with a great pass rush. I think this can be a really difficult game for the 49ers, especially having to go on the road and win against Pittsburgh. I like the Steelers, man. Who you like? You got the 49ers of Pittsburgh.
I like Pittsburgh.
Now, Bryce Young, a.k.a. King Bryce, is making his official NFL debut against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, if you ask me who has the quarterback advantage in this game, I'm going to tell you the Carolina Panthers. I think Bryce Young is a better quarterback right now than Desmond Ridder. And you can say, oh, JT, you tripping. We haven't seen Bryce Young play a single NFL game yet, officially. Well, we're going to see in this game, and I think that Bryce Young is going to look like the way better quarterback than Desmond Ridder. All right, Desmond Ridder, he gets a lot of comparisons to Alex Smith, which isn't a bad comparison to have. But anytime you have a guy like Bryce Young who's able to elevate his game in the big moments, I don't see how Carolina isn't able to win this game if it comes down to them having the ball last. Now, I'm going to take the Falcons to win, but not for the reasons that you may think. New head coaches, even if they have coaching experience with another team, have losing records in week 1. If you go and you look at new head coaches and their records week 1 over the last decade, they don't really have a lot of success at coming away with victories in the opening week of the NFL season. And that's why I like Atlanta to win this game. Frank Wright and his coaching staff, they got a lot of things that they got to clean up before this game. I mean, their preseason was not that impressive. As a matter of fact, it was really discouraging for me, considering the fact that I picked Carolina to win the NFC South this season. So I think Atlanta should be able to win this game. I think the Carolina Panthers are still trying to figure a lot of things out with their offensive line. And I think that this is a team that probably is going to get better as we progress throughout the season. But I'm going to take the Falcons to get the win week 1. I like Jacksonville to beat Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson could surprise some people, but even if he plays well, I think that if you're asking Anthony Richardson to win this game and he has to do it throwing the football late in the fourth quarter, I like Jacksonville. Like, Anthony Richardson, what's going to keep him alive is his ability to run the football. But if he doesn't have a good day on the ground and Jacksonville is forcing Indianapolis to beat them through the air, I think that Jacksonville probably wins this game, and they do it pretty convincingly. But if Anthony Richardson has a really good debut, I think that it's probably going to be because Jacksonville has a difficult time slowing him down with his rushing ability. This dude is 6'4", 255 pounds, running 4.43. This is pretty much Derrick Henry at freaking quarterback. So if Indianapolis can get him going, and they're going to have to get him going on the ground because they're not going to have Jonathan Taylor, so the production from the run game is going to have to come from somewhere, and I think Anthony Richardson could be a large part, and he could be difficult for Jacksonville to slow down, but ultimately, Jacksonville should win this game. Anytime you got a rookie quarterback with the game on the line late, I think there's a good chance that you probably like your chances he makes a mistake and you're able to come away with the victory if you're Jacksonville. I'm taking Minnesota over the Buccaneers. There is a chance with this being week 1 that maybe the Buccaneers get a shocking win over Minnesota. You remember a couple years ago when Jacksonville got a win over Indianapolis week 1 and then they proceeded to have the worst record in the NFL? So week 1 is probably the best time to find a lot of upsets. Some teams may come out a little bit flat. I remember when the Packers lost to Jameis Winston and the Saints, Sean Payton's final season. Week 1 is where you could see some potential upsets, and that's where the Bucs may be able to pull off a couple of surprises. But I think Indianapolis, like with them playing Jacksonville at home, they won't be able to really take advantage of the home field advantage because I think their quarterback situation late in the game kind of puts them at a disadvantage. If you look at the Minnesota Vikings, you got Baker Mayfield at home. If this comes down to a game where Baker Mayfield has to engineer a 2-minute drive to lead Tampa Bay to a win, I like the Minnesota Vikings defense to get a key stop. I know their defense wasn't good last year, but they moved on from former defensive coordinator Ed Donatel, and they replaced him with Brian Flores. And although you question if Brian Flores is going to have the personnel to run the aggressive style of defense that he's ran during his time being a defensive coordinator for the Patriots and the head coach of the Dolphins, but even then, I do think that there's enough for this defense to make some gradual improvement. I like Minnesota. This game probably could be close, but I like Minnesota to win against the Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers. Obviously, I'm taking the Commanders over the damn Cardinals. Do you guys know that the Cardinals were starting Joshua Dobbs? Their quarterback situation is so dire that they're just going to say, F it, we're going to start a guy that we just traded for a week ago. Now, Kyler Murray is going to play this year at some point. They have already came out and confirmed this. But I mean, damn, Joshua Dobbs, week 1 against the Commanders with that offensive line, against this defensive line, the Commanders are about to eat. And this is my lock of the week, easily. Now, this could be a little bit of a cop-out because Arizona sucks. And they're not going to be good this year. They're going to suck water through a garden hose. But, I mean, the Commanders' defensive line, don't be surprised if they have 6 or 7 sacks against Arizona in this game. I think that a lot of people are really overlooking how good the Commanders' defense is. I think they got the most underrated defense in the NFL. Honestly, they've had a top 10 defense every year under Ron Rivera, and nobody really talks about it. I think that Arizona, we're really going to see how bad this team is. And the Commanders should make them look really, really bad. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington hangs 40 on these fools. We got Houston and my boy C.J. Stroud taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you're C.J. Stroud, the last team you will want to make your official debut against will be the Baltimore Ravens. They had a top 10 defense last year. But their secondary is a huge question mark. Marlon Humphrey got injured. They got to pick some guys up from off the street. But their defense, when you look at what they got on the back end of their secondary, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, you also have a pretty good group of linebackers, Roquan Smith. I really like the Baltimore Ravens to win this game and do it in blowout fashion. I like Houston's defense, but I don't think their defense is going to be able to have enough energy to slow down Baltimore's offense, considering that their offense probably will struggle against this Ravens defense, and their defense is going to be on the field for a lot of plays, so they're probably going to get tired quickly. And I'm really excited to see Todd Monken's offense. We get to see Lamar Jackson with a legitimate supporting cast, a legitimate offensive coordinator that knows how to get the most out of the passing game. I cannot wait to see the Ravens play in this game. And I can't wait to see my boy CJ Stroud make his debut, but I think he's going to struggle. Packers taking on the Chicago Bears, Jordan Love versus Justin Fields, one of the most high-pressured quarterback matchups that we're going to see during week 1. Jordan Love, this is his first season replacing the Batman Aaron Rodgers at the helm at QB, and Justin Fields, this is a make or break season for him. If he doesn't perform well in this game and Chicago loses, what is going to be the narrative about the Bears moving forward for the rest of the season? And if Jordan Love struggles in this game, people are probably going to be saying, oh man, like Green Bay better start looking at the other quarterbacks coming out in the 2024 draft, because it looks like they may have finally missed at quarterback. They went from Brett Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Can they finally strike gold again and land another franchise quarterback? We'll see, but this is going to be a really big game. This is a rivalry game. I believe this is the NFL's oldest rivalry, I believe. I like Chicago to get the win. Okay? I am on the fence about this game, but I don't trust the Packers run defense. And many Packers fans are probably going to understand where I'm coming from with this, because many of you guys don't like your defensive coordinator and Joe Barry. Now, hopefully, with your team being fully healthy this year, your defense should play up to the level of talent that it has. But against Justin Fields, now that he has DJ Moore and he has some weapons to throw the football to, I mean, how are you going to stop this fool? We already know what he does on the ground. He's like a running back when he gets the ball in his hands, and a damn good one. I mean, I just like Chicago. I don't think that Green Bay's defense is going to be good because of Joe Barry, and I think it probably gets exploited by Justin Fields and this improved Chicago Bears offense. They improved the offensive line. They add some wide receivers for Justin Fields to throw the football to. I like Chicago to get the win against the Pack. I'm taking the Broncos against Las Vegas. I don't think the Raiders are going to be good. I don't care about what they did in the preseason. The Lions went 4-0 in the preseason at one point and then proceeded to go 0-16. So I could give a rat's you-know-what about what the Raiders do in preseason. They're going against the Denver Broncos, and they're going against a team that has Sean Payton, one of the greatest offensive minds to ever coach in the history of the NFL. And I think that Russell Wilson is going to bounce back under Sean Payton. Now, is he going to be the Seattle Russell Wilson that we saw in the past? No, but I do think he'll be good enough to have some success against what could be a really disappointing Raiders defense. Many Raiders fans think this defense can finally take a step up, but I really don't see it. It looks like Chandler Jones was a bad free agent signing. You do got young pass rusher and Tyree Wilson that you drafted in the top 10, but he's more of a developmental player. You don't really got a great secondary. You did sign Marcus Peters, but he's in his 30s and he's hit or miss at times. He can be really good, but he also can cost you with penalties, and he can be over aggressive at times. I'm taking the Broncos to win the game. I don't like the Raiders. Josh McDaniels isn't a good coach. I think the Broncos are going to win this thing. I think Raiders fans are just bathing in the success that they had in the preseason, because that's all they're going to have to celebrate this year of how their season probably is going to go. They're probably going to be out the playoff hunt by midway through this year. Eagles taking on the Patriots. A lot of people are considering this to be a trap game for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're only a 3-point favorite or 4-point favorite at the last time I checked. And Foxborough is a really strange place to play at. New England doesn't have a team nearly as talented as Philadelphia, but you can trust that they're going to be well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. Well, Bill O'Brien, that's their offensive coordinator. Their offense should be way better than what it was last year. But even though they got a better play caller, doesn't mean that this offense is going to be just miles and days and nights better than what they was in 2022, because they don't got a lot of talent at wide receiver. Devontae Parker isn't good. He's a good 50-50 ball guy, but outside of that, he doesn't really do a lot of things well. Juju Smith-Schuster, there's some injury concerns about him. I saw a report that came out that said that his knee pretty much is a ticking time bomb. That thing could explode at any moment during any portion of any of the games that he plays in for the Patriots this year. They got Demario Douglas, who probably has been their best receiver throughout the preseason and training camp. I can't wait to see what he does in this game and how the Patriots utilize him. I'm taking the Eagles, though. The Eagles got a really good pass rush. The Patriots' offensive line should be better this year, but I still think this Eagles pass rush should get the best of them. And the Eagles just got so much up front that I think the Patriots just are going to have a hard time, and this secondary should do a good job against these receivers, even though the Patriots could shake some things up by going heavy with their tight ends. Bill O'Brien does utilize a lot of 2 tight end sets, but even if they do that, I just don't think that they got enough talent to pull off the upset against Philly. I think that Jalen Hurts should have a really good game, and I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to get the win against the New England Patriots. The Miami Dolphins are going on the road to take on the LA Chargers. Now, the last time we saw the Dolphins play the Chargers and Brandon Staley, they boxed up this offense. And this probably was the best performance that I've ever seen out of a Brandon Staley coach defense since he's been the head coach of the LA Chargers over the last couple of years. The Miami Dolphins, okay, they have probably the fastest offense in the NFL. The main concern is going to be how improved is this offensive line going to be? All right. Now, this defense should be really good. You got Vic Fangio, who a lot of people are using his defense. It's been one of the most implemented defenses and one of the most influential defenses in the NFL over the last decade or so. Like nearly 60% of NFL defenses are running some sort of a Fangio-style defense. And even if you're not running a full committed style Fangio 6 defense, you're still having some implementations of it in your defense. I think the Chargers have a high chance at being able to win this game. It's not because they're playing at home, because they don't really have good home attendance. The people don't really show up for Chargers games, and I don't blame them. Anytime you got Brandon Staley as your head coach, I wouldn't want to show up and watch that garbage neither, especially with him having terrible game management. I mean, you look at what he did late last season. He got Mike Williams injured. Like, he played them in a meaningless game, week 17, week before they played Jacksonville, and Mike Williams gets injured, and that was a big reason why they lost to Jacksonville. I'm taking the Dolphins to win this game, man. I think that this season starts off rough for the Chargers. Brandon Staley isn't a good coach. I don't care if he's made it to the playoffs. I think a large reason why they went to the playoffs last year was because he was in a weak division outside of Kansas City. The Raiders sucked. The Broncos sucked. And they were able to beat up on some bad quarterbacks or average quarterbacks at best. They didn't really beat any good quarterbacks. Their best win was against Tua. I like the Dolphins to win this game, and I think they're going to get some revenge. I think Mike McDaniel is going to have a way better game plan against Brandon Staley's defense. I'm taking the Dolphins. The Seahawks, I think they're going to beat the Rams. Cooper Kupp, he's already injured. He got injured during training camp a couple of weeks ago, and he got ruled out for this matchup. The Rams don't really have any reliable weapons on offense outside of Cooper Kupp. Without him, who are they going to throw the football to? Van Jefferson? Okay, maybe he could have a good game, but who else? Tutu Atwell? Okay. I mean, Seattle, you're going to have Devon Witherspoon and Tyreek Woolen. We already know Tyreek Woolen is shut down. But if Devon Witherspoon is shut down also, and they hit on him, I mean, I don't really know how the Rams are going to have too much success on offense. Seattle improved their run defense. They brought back Bobby Wagner. Welcome back, B-Wags. You never should have left in the first place. 12-man loves you. And they also got Draymond Jones on the defensive line. Seattle has not just a lot of talent on the defensive line, but they got a lot of depth as well. They got Boye Mafe, who isn't even a starter over Darryl Taylor or Uchenna Nwosu. I mean, the Rams, they probably are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And if it wasn't for Sean McVay, I probably would have them winning only 1 or 2 games this year. I think they could be just as bad as Arizona, but since they got Sean McVay, you can't completely count them out. And I don't think that Seattle is just going to dominate the Rams because they're just more talented. I am going to give Sean McVay a little bit of credit, and I'm going to say that the Rams can keep this within 1 possession because of him, and with this being week 1, but I'll be really shocked if Seattle loses to the Rams at any point this season. Like, if they don't sweep the Rams, it would surprise me. I like the Cowboys over the Giants. The Giants have been a team that people are starting to talk about more. Nobody really talked about the Giants too much during this offseason outside of when they got that tight end, Darren Waller. But now it seems like people are starting to feel like the Giants can be a playoff team. But I think the Cowboys are quickly going to show people why the Giants may not be a playoff team this year. They're just a way better team. And we saw what the Cowboys did to the Giants when they played last year. The problem with the Giants is that I think that they made some okay free agent moves. I don't think they made any moves that made them significantly better this year than what they were last year. I mean, they are better, but you're not the only team that got better in your division. I mean, Washington, if they got Sam Howell, who tends to be a franchise quarterback all of a sudden under Airbnb's tutelage, I think they make it to the playoffs over you. I like the Cowboys to beat the New York Giants. And then the last game that we got, Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers making his Big Apple debut for the Jets. You know, there's some people that think that Buffalo could implode this year. Maybe Sean McDermott isn't the guy. And this is the first game of the Aaron Rodgers era in New York. I think it's going to result in a win. I think that even though the offensive line is a question for the New York Jets, and the Buffalo Bills do have a defensive line full of a lot of young, talented, up-and-coming pass rushers, so do the New York Jets. The New York Jets have an elite defense. And this defense should be even better than what it was last year with the emergence of Jermaine Johnson going into year 2, Will McDonald in his rookie season, and how good their secondary is, and Josh Allen being turnover prone last year. I like the Jets to win this game, and I think that the Aaron Rodgers New York Jets era begins with a victory week 1.